Hey, peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. I'm the man here that keeps it all cooking wood. I'm going to talk about some entertainment with this week's Yellowstone episode. Wednesday nights on Paramount. I think the episode this week was called Only the Gray Behind Us, something like that. What I got here? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. 8 points I'm gonna try to quickly run through. Keep this check-in or update pretty straightforward. Um, Jamie continues to figure out what his role in the family is, and he's going through this situation of trying to find redemption after joining in the family's real business of handling problems, finding solutions to the challenges against the family and affronts against the family. But I thought it was dope here, and I like Kayce. I'm a Kayce fan. If I throw that out there, I really like Kayce and Luke Grimes. I've been enjoying his arc on the show. But he said, you might, Jamie's all like, well, I need to be punished and all, blah, 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 and I deserve this. And I thought one of the dope lines in this episode, Kayce tells him after he gives him his new job, shoveling crap, and cleaning up behind the livestock. Kayce tells him, you might need it, but you don't deserve it. And he says, this little episode that you're going through, work through it how you need to work through it, but you still family, and I'm standing with you. And Kayce is continuing to show that he's a soldier in this thing, and he's all in. He's 10 toes down on this situation, on this thing, and the fight, and for the family and everything. But eventually, he hopes to do things a better way. One thing, the next point was a cold statement. I got some quotes here that really stood out to me on this episode. But John tells Beth, Kevin Costner tells Beth, I think her name's Kelly Riley, Jason's family. It shows how cold-hearted he is and how family first he really is. Really family first. Jason's family isn't my problem. You are, sweetheart. She's feeling some guilt about what happened to her assistant during this attack that was set in motion by the Beck brothers, and her assistant was killed. I thought that was kind of a senseless murder. And the other brother, not Malcolm Beck's, but the other brother kind of mentions this to Malcolm, like, if this thing is going to get bigger and bigger, it's going to draw attention. Like, what are we doing here? We actually killing people over, what they're trying to get accomplished. So, but this is kind of how singularly focused, John is in preserving Yellowstone and preserving, the family. The next thing here is Monica and Beth. It was only a matter of time before Monica and all her ideals and her, her being kind of disconnected from reality in many ways, and her this judgmental stance she has on. I mentioned this last week. I'm benefiting from everything and being a Dutton, but then I'm still turning my nose up and scoffing at all of the activity that takes place in the family being what it needs, what it is, and what it needs to be. But I'm sitting here cringing that Monica is being left alone with Beth on the porch, unsupervised, with not being under the watchful eye of John, who's kind of the only person to rein Beth in. Even though she's sitting here licking her wounds literally at this point. But she goes out, Monica goes out and sits on the porch, and she wants to know, damn, how did your face get like this? And, Beth is like, more honest than what Kayce was, and says that this is what's really going on right here. This is really what the family is about. This is part of the family business and protecting what we have. I'll speak more on that in just a second. And the one thing that we're getting here is like I've mentioned the parallels between this and Empire. And in Empire, it was all about protecting Empire, the record label and the brand and all of that. And at some points, while I was watching the show, as briefly as I was, it was like, how important is it to defend Empire when it's such a it seems to be such a drag on the different characters' mentality and their livelihood and their peace of mind. And here with Yellowstone, it's like they keep, and Walker was talking about it, but Yellowstone is like it's this haunted house, and Monica is speaking of it like it's a prison. It's the Alamo, and they're in prison there. They're all in prison there. And, again, to her point, how do you even willingly stay here and sign up for this? Like, just leave. Like, can't we leave? So, but Beth says, she tells Jenkins when he shows up, for my next point, she says, when I'm here, I understand me less. And it's like, is it the family? Is it the family that's weighing more on you? Or is it because Walker was like this, I don't understand this place. I don't understand this place. So is it the family? Or is it the relationship? Is it the relationships in the family? Or is it, do they really look at it like it's spirits and a vibe over Yellowstone that's just crippling at some point, debilitating? Next, that meeting, that moment alone, that girl time between Beth and Monica didn't go horribly wrong. Beth did stay on her better behavior a little bit. So then we get the sit down between the triad of Dutton, Rainwater, and Jenkins, and they make this pact on what they're going to do to respond to the Becks, to them, threatening them, and, for the attack on Beth. And John's mind is already made up of what the end solution is, the outcome is. And Rainwater and the chairman, Rainwater and Jenkins are kind of like learning what their role in this thing is. And John is like, look, I'm going to take care of it. I already got the plan and everything, and don't ask me anything. I really don't need your input. But I guess John was checking them to see if they're really willing to go all the way to address this situation the only way that it can be. So silly Jenkins is recording this discussion, and they go around. He passes this little voice recorder. He says, he speaks out loud. This is kind of like an organized crime side of it, with John patting him down to see if he's wearing a wire. And Jenkins is like, nah, we need to kill him. That's it. And come on in. Another interesting thing here is that hey. Another interesting thing here is that Rainwater, goes off on his speech saying that he represents his people at all time, and if he's caught up in any dirt as a chairman, then it would call into question the legitimacy and, any slip up that he makes, his whole nation, his whole community will be judged on his actions. And he says, John here is free to carry on as he wants, because nobody would look at all white people or all everyday people. Nobody would hold his people, accountable for what John is doing. So he reminds them that, hey, on the reservation, what happens on the reservation stays on the reservation. So whatever we're gonna do to get rid of the Beck brothers, I got the perfect location to where it can go to, it can go to die. Closing out that meeting between Beth and Monica, I thought another strong statement in the writing and the dialogue was where she told her, while Monica is being all judgmental of everything that's going on and seeming to struggle with understanding why the Dutton family does what it does, she tells her, and I think Monica needed to hear this. Don't judge us for the thing that we're giving you. It might be tough here, and you might not understand what's going on. You might not agree with it, but it is a way of life, and it's security for the family. It's a means, respect that. So get with the program. Play your role in this thing, however, whatever your role is going to be. Then finally later on that night, Kayce and Monica, she goes to this concert and she's judging her own people, and she takes her students out on this field trip to kind of get a better understanding of what Native American life is all about and different aspects of their daily living. And then she sees that she doesn't agree with the energy that the rappers have at this concert and the messaging that they have. And again, she thought she was going to hear on some peace and harmony and, kumbaya, everybody get along. And then these rappers are up here with lyrics that are about fighting. Fighting for what they believe in and fighting for their way of life. So she just seems to be completely out of the loop, on reality. And then John reminds, so she comes home, later that night, and Kayce reminds her that, look, what are we doing here? I thought we just got back together, and now you're sitting here bugging out over something new. What do you want? And she wants to know what is really going on the ranch. And he gives her the speech about, look, I'm just trying to play my part here. And we weren't doing well and reminds her we weren't doing well on the reservation. We were struggling there. Here, yeah, it's a downside to this place, but this is family. It's something worth fighting for. It's something that we can pass on to take. There's safety here. And I'm going to be involved with my family on the level that I have to. But to compromise for you, we can live off the property, and I could just drive to work, and this be a normal thing, like anybody else with a job. But scratching together these nickels that we were dealing with on the reservation, that just wasn't getting it. So he just warns her that it's people out here that want what we have. The next, Monica and John, they have their face-to-face, and John, again, gives her something to think about, that fighting and struggle was going on everywhere. You weren't doing well when you were on the reservation. You were vulnerable. You were vulnerable. At least here is some security, and it's people willing to fight on one accord for one another. So give us a chance. Don't just sit here and struggle with and disagree with how we go about things. We do have our dark secrets and the skeletons in our closet, but we're doing it for a good purpose. And we're not out here, I guess his message is, we're not out here initiating anything. We're just protecting what we have. So work with us. And then after that, Kayce gets his orders from his dad. They've located the plane that the Beck brothers used to kill their livestock, and Kayce basically gives his orders, as the muscle of the family and the solution guy, with Rip on the mend after saving Beth last week, and they're going to use this plane against the Beck brothers. I guess as it's flying over the reservation, which this is gonna be interesting as hell as how Kayce and the security guy for Jenkins, what they're gonna do to bring this plane down out of the air and make this look like an accident, I guess, so it goes away and kind of closes out the climax and the resolution for the season. So that's squared away. They get to rolling on that. And then at the same time, Beth goes and picks on her favorite person on the show, Jamie, while he's doing his new duties. And she makes this promise that she's gonna make him hurt, as if he hasn't hurt enough. And I don't know, this scene was kind of weird to me, but she promises that somebody's gonna find a way to love Jamie one day. Maybe they need to show us what this rivalry is. They did the flashbacks on the other people, Rip and Beth, when they were kids, and we saw how Beth got all screwed up with her being the cause of her mother to get killed by the horse. Maybe we need to see what the root of this rift is between Jamie and Beth. But she says that someday somebody's going to love you and I'm going to take that away from you. So I guess she just needs Jamie to continue to hurt. I don't know, a rivalry for standing and love, whatever the pecking order is with their father. But it just seems a little senseless at this point. But I liked how Jamie played it and he didn't even respond to her. Because I thought he could have said, look, I done killed 1B. I take you out in this barn and come back and take care of you later. But he just let her be. But and then lastly, I didn't kind of understand what the shooting at the Bills site was all about. The Beck brothers sent somebody over there and they killed a guard on the construction site. I guess it was to halt construction while an investigation needs to take place. And then rainwater comes. The Duttons come. Jamie, I guess, thought maybe he was being taken on a train ride for some reason, but they actually take him there just to for legal purposes, since he is a lawyer. And from that point, like I said, I really don't understand that move by the Beck brothers to kill this police officer. I mean, this security guard, other than the halt construction. And then John at that point looking at this dead body and another act of aggression from the Beck brothers, he signals Kayce that it's time to set up this meeting and set the plan in motion to get the Beck brothers on this airplane and take them out. So that's kind of all of this episode. I thought it was a pretty, I had to watch it twice to kind of understand some of the nuances of it and whatnot. But we only have 2 episodes left. I guess they're just keeping it at 9 per season, I believe, which is interesting, not to be at 10 or 12. But it continues to be a show that's interesting, and that's about that. So I'm going to end it. Peace.